What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. So after taking a second look at the Saints game, I'm gonna kind of try to be a little bit optimistic on what I saw. Um, so the first half wasn't necessarily as horrible, or at least midway through the second quarter as originally I felt. So after the CeeDee Lamb long touchdown, the Cowboys are right there, 21-13. And then the Saints go down and have a long drive that ends in an Alvin Kamara touchdown that makes it 28-13. So I feel like that is the point where the game got out of hand. If your defense could have done anything during that time, maybe the Cowboys could have gotten back into the game. Now, some of the things I saw, if we're looking at what went right, what went wrong as far as the Cowboys in this game, so there were a few things. First off, there were way too many defensive linemen on the ground. At first glance, just watching the game live, I really wanted to blame the linebackers, and I still do. I still think Maris Leafau did not have the game that he needed to have. Damone Clark did not have the game he needed to have. Aaron Kendricks did not have the game he needed to have. As a matter of fact, there was a particular run for Taysom Hill for a first down late in the second quarter where Kendricks missed a tackle, but he was trying to get to the outside to force the run back into the inside, and he got walled off by the block. And Taysom Hill was able to beat them to the corner, get the first down, keep the drive alive. Eventually, Alvin Kamara scores on that drive. One of the things about that made me pretty upset was watching the Cowboys on offense and watching there were certain plays where Jalen Brooks had a chance to secure the block and missed the block. Especially, there was a nice in around to Brandon Cooks, and it looked like Brandon Cooks had a lot of room to the right side, to the outside. And when I mean the right side, like I always say, the offense is right, the defense is left. So over the Terrence Steele side of the play. And Brandon Cooks got the handoff, was running outside. He had a lot of room. It looked like they had it blocked up. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Brooks lost control of his man. And his man came in and made the tackle on Brandon Cooks. Also, Jalen Brooks had the slip on the interception by Dak Prescott when he was pretty much wide open. And that play, if he didn't slip, it probably could have went for maybe a house call. Maybe it's a touchdown. Like, that's how well designed the play was. But instead, Jalen Brooks slips, ball gets intercepted, play over, drive over. Saints have the drive. They go down to score, make it 28-13. So at that point, the game was 21-13. And I feel like that's when the Cowboys lost control of the game. There was also some plays later on. One of the plays I would like to touch on is when Ezekiel Elliott snuck out into the flat. He had what could have been a walk-in touchdown. Dak Prescott's getting pressured from the Terrence Steele side of the offensive line. He goes to outlet to Ezekiel Elliott, and the ball falls flat on the ground. Either it falls flat by the way he threw it because of the pressure, it falls flat because it got tipped. Doesn't matter why it fell flat, but it fell flat, and that I don't know if that would have been a walk-in touchdown. There's people saying there would have been a walk-in touchdown, but there was a Saints defender in the area. I feel like at least the Cowboys would have gotten that ball down inside the 5, which means fresh set of downs, which means a fresh set of play calls, and maybe a situation where you get to turn the game back in your favor again. So, all in all, I feel like there were quite a few drives that ended terribly. Um, but your linebacker play, as much as people want to harp on the defensive tackle play and the defensive line play, there were several plays in this game where Maris Leafau missed tackles, where Damone Clark missed tackles. On the screenplay to Alvin Kamara that went for a 50-plus yard touchdown, Eric Kendricks overplayed it. He over pursued the play. It was a screenplay, right? Right to the middle of the Cowboys defense. And the only player that could have made the play would have been Eric Kendricks. Everybody else was out of the play. The Cowboys corners were downfield, running with the Saints receivers. The defensive linemen were upfield, thinking, oh my God, this is one of the times we actually got pressure. No. And then they hit him up the middle. And the only person that could have made the play was Eric Kendricks, but he overran the play. And then Alvin Kamara made a nice cut inside. All of a sudden, now you have a Dallas Cowboys defense that's on their heels. You have Kamara literally jogging in for the touchdown. Now, some of the players who could have made better plays, Jalen Tolbert, but also on the play where Jalen Tolbert got whacked as he tried to make a catch on the ball and it ended up falling incomplete because Tyrann Mathieu got over there to make the play. I haven't heard enough people talking about how bad of a throw that was from Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott dropped back and he lofted a cloud, a lollipop, some cotton candy to Jalen Tolbert. There was no pace on that ball. There was no pace whatsoever. He lofted it out there. So it was lazy on all ends. It was a lazy throw by the quarterback. It was a lazy reception attempt by the wide receiver. And what happens? The Saints are playing with some urgency because they know, hey, this is a Cowboys offense that by reputation can get back into the game by getting some explosive plays. So I need to get there. And Tyrann Mathieu played with some pace and he played with some urgency. He got there, he knocked it out. Jalen Tolbert could have maybe made a more aggressive attempt at the catch. Dak Prescott could have made a more pace throw. Like he could have put some pace on that ball because Jalen Tolbert was already open. So if Dak Prescott, instead of lofting the ball, actually puts some pace on it and gets it to Jalen Tolbert, instead of having Tyrann Mathieu get there at that final second to knock the ball out, he just instead puts a big hit on Jalen Tolbert. Now, maybe that would allow the ball loose. But maybe if you put some pace on that ball and Jalen Tolbert is able to get that into his hands and then cradle it, and now Mathieu comes over, makes the big hit, maybe Jalen Tolbert just goes to the ground, has the ball secure because your quarterback put some pace on the ball. That's on Dak. That is definitely on Dak. But there were also some other plays that weren't on Dak. The third down play to Ezekiel Elliott, fresh out the half when the Cowboys are trying to get back into the game. Dak makes an amazing play to stay on his feet. He gets the ball to Zeke. Zeke makes a play of it as well in the open field, gets the first down. But it doesn't matter because the Cowboys were not able to capitalize. There are some very uncreative plays being called for the Cowboys out of what's supposed to be one of the more creative offensive systems in the NFL. As I alluded to on Sunday, the West Coast offense, the same offense we run, that's what the Saints ran against us. So it troubles you in multiple ways. For example, the Saints ran the offense that we run against us, right? They ran the West Coast offense. We couldn't stop it. We practiced against that multiple days a week, and we had no answers. No answers. And on the flip side, we run that offense, and we have been running that offense for a couple of years under Mike McCarthy, yet we can't come up with better ways to get our playmakers the ball, or we go away from plays that are working. So from also what I saw on film, exactly what I thought is it came to reality. It showed me after I watched it again. Luke Schoonmaker was definitely making plays. I don't know why the Cowboys didn't keep going that way because it was working. And he had some early catches, and then they went away from it for a while, and then he had a late catch as well that went for a first down. So I don't understand what's going on as far as the coaching and the play calling. It's almost like we're outthinking ourselves. Like, you find something that's working, you find something that's getting you yards, but instead you try to go to something else. We had certain plays in the game where Ezekiel Elliott was running up the middle, he was getting positive yards, right? But then all of a sudden, later on in the game, now we're trying to attack on the edges with Zeke, and we're trying to attack up the middle with Deuce Vaughn. That doesn't make much sense. It's counterproductive. Like, Deuce Vaughn should be attacking on the edges. Zeke should be attacking up the middle. Rico Dowdle should be getting much more carries, much more passes out of the backfield. He was actually decently efficient. It's confusing. It's sort of like we don't know quite what we want to do on offense. And I know for the most part, the story of the game is the defense, right? Because even though the offense was having some confusion and they were kind of discombobulated, I did make the point that they scored 16 points in the first half. And with 16 points scored in the first half, you should actually be in any game that you're in, right? You shouldn't be down more than 10 points when you've scored 16 in the first half. You should be okay. Maybe if you're having some problem as a play caller, you should be like, well, we're having some problems in the first half, but at least we're in this game. The game's 16-17, or the game's 16-21. We're kind of in there. But I looked at Michael Parsons on multiple plays. It looked like the Dan Quinn defense, where Michael Parsons is just the defensive end. That's what he is. And even though the offense is either running away from Michael Parsons or, like I was talking about in our last episode, pulling, trapping, pin and pull, double teaming, triple teaming, whatever you want to say, running right at Michael Parsons. And the Cowboys didn't even say, hey, you know what? Let's line him up at defensive tackle, right? And let's have our two down linemen. Let's cover up both guards, right? And let's also cover up both tackles. So all 5 men have a one-on-one. So even if the Saints run it, we have 5-on-5, right? Let's get our best speed linebacker in there when we're talking about Demarvion Overshown. And then let's get Eric Kendricks in there. And let's see. Let's bring Donovan Wilson down a little bit. Bring him into the box. And if we see, oh my God, it's pass, we can have Donovan Wilson bail out, too high. Let's bail out. Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, let's bail out as quickly as possible. Let's get too high. They're passing the ball, but let's get our 5, as far as our 4 down linemen and Michael Parsons. Let's let them go in the middle. You, Kendricks, rotate over to the center of the field. So you've got the middle zone and our 4 cornerbacks. Let's drop back and let's just cover our zones and rally and tackle if they try to go underneath. But now we got 2 high. We got 4 now. We got somebody over the middle. We're covering up all their offensive. There was no creativity. To the defense. And that's the scariest part, because we just kept it status quo no matter how much they were beating us up. It's almost like when they came back to the sidelines that our coaches were just like, hey, dude, play better. Play better, be better. And everything will turn out better. So I really have a lot of problems with what I saw on film, probably even more so than what I saw live in the game. Because there were definitely ways to stop this Saints offense. I know everybody wants to tell us that they're amazing and they have the QBX system and this Saints team is going to get stopped throughout the season multiple times. They're going to end up a slightly above average team. I'm sorry, but just from what I saw, there are going to be people that preach to you that, oh, maybe the Saints are much better than we thought. And that's why the Cowboys had these problems. That can be true. The Saints can be better than what we thought and still be a slightly above average team, because I don't know if anybody thought that they were going to be, more than an average team to start the season. There are a lot of problems within this scheme. I know Mike Zimmer in his press conference said that he can fix it. I understand that he may think he can fix it, but I saw Linville Joseph on the ground. I saw Jordan Phillips on the ground. Actually, as a matter of fact, of all the players, I actually think Mozzie Smith, the goat, the scapegoat of all this shit, probably played the best game out of your defensive linemen. And that's not saying much because nobody else really showed up. Your linebackers were bad. There were multiple times. Everybody's going to try to tell you, hey, the defensive tackles were playing so bad that the linebackers they couldn't get to anyone. That's also true and untrue. There were plenty of plays where those linebackers were clean and they had a chance to go make a play and they just missed the tackle. They overran, they overpursued, they jumped around blocks, they were in the wrong gap. Like, the linebackers have just as much responsibility for how much the Saints scored as the defensive linemen. Now, I'm not here to tell you that the defensive line played a great game. Honestly, if you're looking at me, I say it was a horrible game across the board for your defense completely. And looking at it a second time, it just reinforced everything I felt the first time. So, just wanted to touch base with you guys, let you know after reviewing it, if it was worse than I thought or better than I thought. It was actually worse than I thought. I will say the only bright spot in this is that the Cowboys had a chance. They had a chance after CeeDee Lamb scored that touchdown. But to me, if the Cowboys would have kept up with the Saints, if they would have kept scoring, I still think the defense would have been toilet paper and the Cowboys would have lost this game no matter what because they would have had to score, as we saw, 45 points. But that's only because the Saints definitely turned it down late in the game. If the Saints would have wanted to score 60 points this week, they could have scored 60 points. If the Saints wanted to score 70 and put it on you like Miami did to Denver last year, the Saints could have scored 70. So this is troubling going forward. This is really troubling going forward. I'm not going to be one of those people that say the Cowboys lost so they'll never win again, or the Cowboys win so they'll never lose again. But I will say the problems that showed up against these Saints are going to continue to be problems throughout the course of the season. And there are a few ways the Cowboys can mitigate that. Get a better running game. And because when you get a better running game, you'll keep the other team's offense off the field. They'll get fewer possessions. They might press a little bit more, and that might play into the style of defense that you want to have. So, as Mike McCarthy says, complementary football, that can help you in this situation. But unless you get that perfect game plan, this is going to be an issue all season long. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because this has been an issue for the Cowboys for a few years. So, I'm going to get off my rant. I'm going to get off my high horse. That's what I got for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can hit me up there with some questions or anything that you want me to cover. You can also leave that in the comments below. You can also hit me up on email if you want. That's knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. I'll take questions, feedback, whatever, either way, and throw them into sort of a mailbag segment, make it a regular thing. If you like the video, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're almost there. We're almost at 20. We've gotten tons of likes. Thank you guys for that. You guys have been here from the beginning. I love you so much. Keep it going. Share it wherever you want to share it. But thank you guys. Until next time, I'm your host, J Mill. J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.